Hello, I'm Lauren with Wellness and Recreation, and today I'm here to talk about campsite and tent setup. So, before we go out to our campsite, let's make sure we have everything I need, starting with the tent. Once I've emptied my bag, I want to make sure I have everything that I'll need, starting with our footprint or ground tarp. So, there's a big difference between a footprint and a ground tarp. A footprint is made by the manufacturer, and you will get it specifically for your tent so that it fits exactly. If you don't want to get a footprint, you can go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, and you can get either a tarp or painter's plastic that goes on the ground. Whichever you choose, you need to make sure that it's the right size or that you cut it to size. It needs to be the same size as the bottom of your tent. It should fit just to the edges. If it goes out beyond the edges, instead of keeping the water from your tent, you're going to end up swimming in a pool of water, which is not what we want. Our next piece of equipment is our tent body. So this is the piece we're actually sleeping in that keeps the bugs out, has some nice doors. Our third piece is our rain fly. Now, rain flies are really important for more than just rain. They do keep the rain out, but they also keep out the dew in the mornings, and they're what provides you some privacy to change clothes and get ready for bed and in the morning. Lastly, you're going to need your tent poles and stakes. Now, this might come in 2 bags or like here, a single bag, and you need to make sure that you have everything. So make sure that you have the right number of tent poles. Most tents need 2 poles, but some do need 3 or more poles. The other thing is your tent stakes. You need enough for all of your corners and your vestibules. For my 2-person tent, that's 6 stakes. I do try to keep a couple of extra in there. These stakes are made of aluminum and they bend really easily. And so if I break one, I always want to have a backup just in case. Now that we've got our tent all packed, it's time to make sure we have everything else we need. We need everything to go in the tent, like a sleeping pad and a sleeping bag. It's really important to take a light source, like a lantern, but we highly suggest a headlamp because that lets you see while being hands-free, especially if you need to go to the bathroom or if it turns out you're a morning person and you're up before the sunrise trying to cook breakfast. You'll also want something to sit on, such as a camp chair or something like this called a crazy creek. If you're backpacking in a pinch, you can even use your sleeping pad to sit on. Lastly, don't forget about food and water. Not only do you actually need food and water, you also need a way to cook it, like with a camp stove, and a way to keep it safe from critters. At a campsite, you can lock it in your car, but if you're out in the woods, you need either a bear hang or a bear canister. Now, I'm using the word bear a lot, but it's not just about bears. It's also about raccoons, squirrels, or any other critters that could get your food and take it away. You don't want to be stranded without food or water. So don't forget to pack all of the essentials, and I'll see you when we go set up our tent. To set up the tent, we're going to take our tent out of its bag and then go ahead and put down the ground tarp and then put the tent on top. I've got mine all rolled together, so I'm just going to open it up and lay it out. Notice that I put everything over onto the bag so that it stays nice and neat, and I'll put my rain fly over there too before grabbing out my poles and putting them together. If it's super windy, I can grab the stakes first and temporarily stake down all of my ground tarp and tent so it doesn't fly away. I'm putting the tent poles into the corners and we'll take a look at how that's done in just a little while. Now I'm grabbing my second pole out and putting it together. Once I've got both poles attached, I want to start by attaching the tent in the middle first, and then I can go down the sides of the tent and attach them to the poles so that my tent is all together. Notice that I keep shifting the tent, and that's to make sure that it stays over my ground tarp because I really want the tent to cover the ground tarp completely. Next, I'm going to put on my rain fly. I'm going to start by finding the doors and making sure that they match up. This is the quickest and easiest way to make sure that I'm putting on the rain fly correctly. You can also find the corners. On many corners, they are color coded to make sure that they match up correctly. Once I've got all 4 corners attached to the rain fly, I'm going to go ahead and start putting my stakes in. As I put the stakes in, I'm actually pulling the corners of the tent tight to make sure that it's fully stretched out. I want to do all 4 corners, and then I want to put together my vestibules. Make sure that you put your stakes all the way into the ground so that they are not a tripping hazard. After all my stakes are in, I make sure that everything is snugged up and secure, and then that's it. My tent is all set up and ready to go. So to attach my pole to my tent down in the corner, the ends of my pole have these little pieces that stick off, and all they're going to do is go right into these holes. And as I'm doing the crosses, it's okay that my pole bends. It's supposed to. Then when I'm ready, I can pull my rain fly over and do the same thing with the hole that's on that, and it goes underneath the one that's already on. After I've done this all around the tent for all four corners of the tent and then all four corners of the rain fly, I can add the stakes. And then if my rain fly still seems loose and I want to make sure I'm not going to get wet, I can simply pull on the tab on all four corners to tighten it down. Now that we've set up our tent, we're ready to move in. You'll notice that we have two doors, one on our rain fly and one on our tent body. When both of these are zipped up, we have this extra space called a vestibule. A vestibule allows us to store our extra gear and our shoes that we don't want in our tent overnight and keep it dry. So let's go inside our tent and get ready to sleep. To get a good night's sleep in your tent, you're going to need two things. The first is a sleeping pad. What this does is it keeps you insulated from the ground. So it keeps you from getting hot or cold depending on what the ground is compared to the air temperature. These can be foam like this, or they can be mattresses that blow up. There's a really wide variety, but you definitely need to have something. So all you need to do is roll it out into the spot that you're going to sleep. Next, you can grab your sleeping bag, take it out of its stuff sack, and then you're ready to sleep. Now that you know how to set up your tent and campsite, go out and have an adventure, and we hope to see you soon. Go Wolfpack!